Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Daily D. Today's topic is who's preventing you from failure? Now, failure is just an event, by the way. It's the result of doing something wrong, something that you did not do right. And because of that, you live in this world of what we call failure. Failure is a feeling, an emotion. It's a point where we don't feel like we did our best or that something's not going our way. So who's preventing you from failing today? This is a good question that I asked myself many years ago because I think the reason that most people don't succeed at the level that they want, by getting the things they want, having the life that they want, becoming the person that they believe they should become, is because somebody is enabling their ability to not fail. So in an example today, many parents take it upon themselves to make sure their kids don't fail. Right? They'll do anything to make sure their kids don't fail. They will baby them, they'll coddle them, they'll support them financially, physically. They'll support them in any way they can because they want their kids to not fail. And that push to not fail really is a good feeling, right? I would imagine that I'm not a parent, but I would imagine being able to support your child is a very good feeling. Being able to prevent them from failing is probably a really good feeling. But if you're the recipient of that, if you're the child, if you will, that person is enabling you not to fail. So what does that really mean? That means that your drive, your ambition, your pursuit of success is not going to be as strong because you have really the lack of eager desire to go out and get something. If you're not hungry, you don't go searching for food. If you're not homeless, you don't go looking for a home. And not to say that I wish any of those things upon anyone. I would just tell you that the reason that most people can't get far in life is because they have a crutch. They have somebody saying, don't worry, if you don't do it, if you can't make it, it's okay. In most cases, to be clear, it's the government. The government today has been put in place or has established programs to really support those who, well, don't or aren't going to fail now, right? How many people today rely on some sort of government assistance to prevent them from failing? Now, there's nothing wrong with being on those programs. There's nothing wrong with having somebody that wants to support you and prevent you from failing. I would just tell you that if that's the ambition that you have, if that's what your goal is, to let somebody take care of you the rest of your life, then you're fulfilling, then you are successful. Then you are succeeding in what it is that you want to accomplish. But I believe that most people inherently want to do more. They want to have more. They want to become more. And because I believe that, I think that we need to really take a close look at who it is that prevents us from failing, and we need to eliminate those things in our life. And the way you do that really is to make commitments to doing things that would allow you to fail. You see, when I made a commitment a few years ago to getting married, it was a big commitment to me. And it wasn't a big commitment because I wanted to get married, because I knew that was a commitment, but getting married meant that I had to work harder. It meant that I had to provide more. It meant that I had to invest more in me and, of course, and give more to my family, which is my wife. It pushed me because I wasn't being pushed at the time. I mean, I was doing okay. I could probably have made it, but I knew that if I committed to her, I'd have to buy us a home. I'd have to help to support her in whatever she wanted to do, financially, emotionally, physically, whatever I could do. And when I made that commitment, it made me so much better because before that, I wasn't really, if I failed, what would happen? I'd lose just me. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a wife before her. I didn't have anything other than my mother and my family. But even at that, they weren't going to starve if I'm not there. And in fact, they would help me if I were to go starving, right? So I didn't have a reason to push forward. So the moment that I made a commitment, I said, I want to marry this girl, this woman, this beautiful person. I want to commit to her for the rest of my life. It made me scared, and it made me scared to fail. And so what I had to do is I had to step up. So I got out of my what we'll call comfort zone. I became a more committed person to a lot of things, but because I was going to fail if I didn't. And I don't want to fail. You see, I believe when you make commitments at a high level, you find a way to get it done. And when you don't have any fear of failure, you don't do much. When you're not scared to lose, you don't do much. Every time I've ever done more in my life or had more, every time I made every time that I felt more successful, it's because I made a commitment at a higher level. I committed to doing something bigger. I committed financially to some other investment. I really said, I'm all in here. And if I don't go all in, I'm going to be lazy about it, right? I don't want to be comfortable, because that is where failure happens. When you get comfortable, you fail. So who's preventing you from succeeding today? Is it your parents? Is it your significant other? You know, who is it somebody? Is it the government? Who's preventing you from failing today? Because that person is enabling your, or limiting your success. They're limiting your ability to be successful in life. They're limiting your ability to get more. You need to not remove these people, not get rid of them, but you need to stop relying on people to support you. You need to stop relying on things to help you. And you need to understand that if you commit, like for an example, you commit to getting a bigger apartment, you commit to getting a bigger home, you commit to buying a nicer car. And I'm not saying because I want you to have things, but when you make a financial commitment, you figure out how to make those payments, right? You figure it out. Well, commit at a higher level, and I promise you'll go figure it out. But don't think that somebody else is going to make those payments, because they're not, right? When you want to do more, you have to commit to do more. You have to commit. When you want more in life, you have to commit to more life. And if you haven't already figured out who's supporting your failure, because they're preventing you from failing, that's a failure in itself. You see, you were put on this planet, on this earth, not to be a dependent, to be independent. I know so many people today who, for today's standards, have done so much. And you know what? It may not seem like a lot, right? It may not seem like they've done a lot, but they've done so much, meaning they grew up in poverty. They didn't have a home. They came from broken relationships and broken homes and families. They came from extreme poverty, from homelessness, from starvation. And today they have something, they have a home to call their own. Maybe they don't own it, maybe they rent it, but it's a home to call their own. They have vehicles that they would have never had. They have clothes that they would have never had. They have a relationship that they would have never, ever had in their lives. And they did that through having a fear of failure. Nobody was there to pick them up. And so they had to figure it out. And because they figured it out, they're strong-willed people. They're determined. Now, by definition of success to you and maybe me, maybe it's not very successful, but to them, that's the world. And see, pushing yourself really, really is directly tied to your ability to see failure. If you can see that you can fail, you're going to work. If you don't see failure, you show up. You just you do enough. You check the box. You have food. But you don't eat good when you don't see failure. You don't push harder when you don't see failure. You have to see failure. So who's preventing you from failing today? I challenge you to think this way, because it's not because I wish you to be failures. I don't want that for you. But the moment that you commit, the moment that you say, I'm not going to take their money. I'm not going to live in their house. I'm not going to allow them to stop me from failing. I'm going to start paying my own bills. I'm not going to allow anybody to take care of me anymore. The moment that you make that decision, what happens is you become successful. I know that, because now you have no other choice. And I think the guy or a girl or woman or family who knows that if they don't show up and push harder than they've ever pushed before, that they'll be homeless, works really hard. There's many stories of this. And there are many people, that are living with mom and dad who say, Mom and Dad will pay my bills and they'll never let me fail. Well, Mom and Dad won't always be there. I thought about this, by the way. This was a thought I was going to talk about this morning, but as I was walking this morning, I decided to take a walk. I was walking by all the houses in my neighborhood, and I noticed 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars in the driveway, and I'm like, golly, man. Like, either these kids are 16, 17, 18, they all have cars, or these kids are 22, 24, 26, and they still live with mom and dad. And I kept on thinking, gosh, these kids are never going to get far if they're continuing to live with mom and dad. They got to go get an apartment. They got to pay their own bills. They got to get a job. They got to do something. You know why? Because it pains me to see this, or to say this, is that they're going to be lives. Their life is a failure without even knowing it. You see, our gift from God is life, and our gift back to God is the life we live. Live it fulfilled. Do more. Leave this place better than you found it. Don't just take. Don't be living off of somebody else. Strive to be successful. not because somebody else didn't allow you to fail, but because you determined and decided that your ambition, your eager desire to be successful is greater than anyone's commitment to not letting you fail. I appreciate you, and I hope this message somewhat offended you. If you're offended, just to be clear, it's because you are allowing somebody else to support you, and you need to get off of it. I hope you see this, get a message. I wish you nothing but success, health, wealth, but most importantly, freedom. Thanks, guys.